let us assume that we have some server. Okay. Let's say this is one server, this is another server, this is another server. Let's say we have three servers. The address of this server is 10.2.0.1. Here it is 10.2.0.2. Here it is 10.2.0.3. Right. We have, let's say, the local network, let's say the switch type of thing here. Then we have the internet. And we have the user request. Let's say we have the user request. It is not like user will do the request by their own. They will do their request by some sort of computing device. So here I'm drawing the laptop. So let's say this is user one, this is user two, this is user three. Okay. And let's assume that this user is looking for an IP address, and it is generating the IP address 1. It is generating IP address 2, and it is generating IP address 3. So the request will coming from here to 1, 2, and 3. So the user request 1 is coming to 1, user request 2 is coming to 2, and user request 3 is coming to 3, right? Now what will happen is user 3 is requesting user the server number 3 10.2.0.3 IP address all the time. Let's assume that this IP address is no more available, right? Now what will happen? So we cannot serve the requirement of this particular user because this particular user need this particular server to be served, right? Now this is one scenario where we required the load balancing technique. Now what we do is instead of getting the request for a particular IP address, we have a virtual server here. And we have a load balancer. So the request will go to the virtual server, and this virtual server will map the request to any of the server, and it will give the request to the load balancer. Load balancer will find out based on the load, they will give the request to a particular user. So it might give particular server. So it gives to this server or this server. If this server is no more available, then the load will be distributed in between these two servers. Okay. This is one requirement of load balancer. Okay. It will find out what are the resources available, and based on the resources available, it will balance the load. So the user request 3 will be fulfilled in this particular scenario. Second scenario is if we are giving a request to the server all the time. The second scenario is like this. Now here what will happen is we give the request. Let's say here we have a switch or something. We give the request to the servers. And what will happen is the user 1 is requesting, let's say, 1,000 times. user 2 is requesting, let's say 10 times, and user 3 is requesting, let's say 3 times. So what will happen is user 1 will be served by, let's say, server 1. So it is very busy or overloaded. Now, in this case, server number 3 is underloaded. Or you can say this is overutilized and this is underutilized. So see, if you are utilizing the server to its peak, there is a chance, high chance that the server could be crashed. So it is better to balance the load among the servers. So based on the load in these servers, some of the load could be given to another server. Some of the load could be given to another server. So here comes the concept of, again, load balancer. So let's say here we have the virtual server, and from the virtual server, it will go to the load balancer. And this load balancer will decide based on the load of these servers that which particular request will be given to which particular server, so that the overloading or underutilization could be balanced. And those servers which are not underloaded will be made, right? So here should be a balanced approach of all the servers. That is the requirement. Then we have the requirement of load balancing. So from the help of load balancing, we can balance the load among the servers so that the underutilization and overutilization could be decreased. Properly, we can serve the requirement of the user. Second thing is, if some failure occur into the system, then this load balancer can reroute the request of the server which is failed to other server which is available, right? So I hope you understood the concept of load balancer and why we required load balancing. So we know that in the cloud service providers, we have different servers, right? Very big servers. And whatever request a user will give to these servers will be able to serve it. And how they will serve it? So we need to look for balancing the load of these servers. Okay, that is our requirement. So I told you different scenarios when we need the load balancing, and load balancing is required. See, when the number of requests has been increased. So number of requests is increasing day by day by different users. So definitely we need to serve them better. If we are not serving them better, definitely they will move to other web servers or other website. Let's say YouTube. If YouTube is not able to serve each and every request, let's say I want to see one lecture of cloud computing, but I could not able to see this. Why? Because the traffic is more in that particular server. So definitely I'll not use the YouTube again. I'll use some other, let's say NPTEL or another website where my content is available. So for customer satisfaction, and the application will be available all the time and the request will be fulfilled and failure could be overcome, we need the load balancing technique. Right? So that's why there is a requirement of load balancing in cloud computing. So actually we required the load balancing in any of the scenario, but here, because we are learning the cloud computing codes, so we see that how we can balance the load in cloud computing itself.